Welcome everyone to this week's live Force Friday session with myself, Mike Matezi, and with Mritunjay. How you doing, Mritunjay?
I'm doing good, Mike. How are you? I'm pretty excited
Doing
for
pretty.
today.
Yeah, me too. This is a fun subject,
Yeah.
and I hope that for everyone out there, it helps you understand Force just a little bit more. Um, so yeah, we'll see. We have a lot of fun ideas to share with the audience today. So and it's only Mritunjay and I. Swenley is out, so it'll be the two of us holding down the fort once more. As always, feel free to, to write your comments in the chat box. If you like what you're watching here, then please hit the subscribe button. And if you hit the bell, you'll get notified. You won't have to worry about missing any of the meetings. So let's get to it. We have a lot to talk about and like I said, a lot of fun stuff to discuss. So let's just get started. Let's get back to Photoshop here. Okay. So break down the blockades to rhythm, right? I couldn't help but think about this guy when I started thinking about breaking down walls. I don't know how many of you remember the Kool-Aid guy, but yeah, this is what we want to be able to do today, right? Is find these moments in the figure where we feel like there's these blockades, and we're going to have the ability to start breaking through these blockades to find out, first of all, where those blockades even are, and how to break through them. What is the experience that we want in breaking through them, and how to do it well? How do we get to the next place in the figure? And that's, I think, the challenge that most students have. So we're going to try to help solve that for you today. So before I get totally into that 100%, I'm going to connect a prior idea from a prior video into today's. We have been discussing the concept of awe for the last couple of weeks, actually. And one of the things that I believe I brought up about 2-3 weeks ago was the idea of scale and size. It's more easy to be in awe of the model if you think about something like the Grand Canyon, right, which is a scale change, right? It's easier to be in awe of, let's say, the Grand Canyon than it is like a blade of grass, right? It's purely a scale thing. I'd have to say for myself, even if I go to galleries, if there's a painting that's, I don't know, 10 inches by 10 inches, and next to it is a painting that's 10 feet by 10 feet, I'm going to look at that 10 foot by 10 foot painting and be like, wow, I can't believe this artist worked at this scale, right? Just to be able to work at that scale already puts you in a place of like shock and awe, no matter what. If you like the painting or don't like the painting, you just have to admire the size. I think it's a very human thing, just because we're acclimated or used to our scale and the objects in our world that are designed ergonomically, meaning things are made for human beings, for humankind, right? We're used to our own scale. So when you see something that's really oversized, it surprises you, it gives you a little bit of awe. So I try and use that, and I used to use that, as I said before, in classrooms quite a bit. And I think what's been sort of desensitizing me out of that is the fact that we're all learning online, and we're learning through, little photographs. So that lack of proximity to the model and the lack of the three-dimensionality makes it a little harder to be in awe. So what we want to try and do here is replicate that sense of awe as much as we can in the digital world as we had in the real world. So this, as weird as this is going to sound, this is the way I would inspire students in classrooms to begin the idea of feeling awe. I would say, this is a student sitting on a drawing horse, and I would say, imagine yourself as like a little airplane, and this space that you see between the model and the student would be like a massive ocean, right? This is thousands of miles away. This is like going from the East Coast shore of the United States to Europe, for instance, right? So we're flying our way across this giant expanse in this little airplane, and we're going to visit Europe, right? I visited Italy a lot, so I always used to use Italy as an example. I was like, I'm visiting the country of Italy. And in my imagination, I want to kind of sense something like this. Yes, I know this isn't Italy, but it's this concept of like being on a little plane and traversing over land and sea and recognizing how small, you know, you actually are compared to the world around you, and that you're going to come into this new landscape of the model, right? And using obviously your imagination to do so, right? So some students have a little tougher time with this. Some, man, they just grab right onto this concept and really understand it. As time has gone on, in the future, I would start saying, well, maybe it's not a plane, maybe it's a drone, right? So you might be this like little drone flying now over the landscape of Europe. You can see this actually looks like Italy too. That was a happy accident. So it's like flying over Tuscany, you know, going over these hills and going through wine country and traversing. Now, as you're approaching at the beginning, let's go back here for a moment, you see the full model, right? You see the map. So recognize that this equals map, right? And once you start getting in there, right, with stuff like this, you start seeing more of the specificity, right? Specificity of terrain, right? You're getting closer. So the way I would define this was, you know, you're going on your trip and there's these different, especially in Europe, there's an excellent rail system, right? So you're taking these trains like all over the country. It might look something like this, right? And at certain places, you're going to stop off. There could be a juncture there, which is what we're going to be talking about today. It gives you an opportunity to investigate that area a little bit more. It's like, oh, what are the really cool things that are going on in that town? Maybe I'm over here, I'm in Venice, and then I'm going to go down to Rome, then I'm going to head down to Florence, right? So, so I want to, you know, sometimes I'll get off there at those moments, and that's where I might go in and try to find more specifics of forces and forms and shapes and anatomy and so on, right? If I'm going to zoom in at this level, right? So now this is like a magnifying glass right here. Right, if I'm going to zoom in at this level to this one area, so now we're doing this, right? I'm here. Notice what happens, of course. I run this risk of, I don't know the whole map anymore. Okay, well, you know, you come out, you say, all right, what was the map? Where am I? How am I getting out of Venice and heading over to Rome? It's like, okay, I need to get back on the train, right? Train's over here. This is how I came in. I need to leave again. I'm going to shoot myself off to the next place and get to Rome. I zoom in to Rome and it's like, oh, you know, the Colosseum is here, right? Like, let me go check out the Colosseum, right? Like so. So there's this sense of scale, which creates awe. And then as I move in, you know, I'm seeing more information in those particular areas. But as I go through the rails, there's key moments where it becomes challenging to know what direction am I supposed to go to? And that's where this metaphor of going through these barricades or doors comes into play, right? It's first of all, recognizing where they are. And like I said, and in breaking through them, how do I break through them? And after how, where do I go once I get through the door, right? So to go back to the awe piece, when I saw Lord of the Rings in my geekness of having taught Force for so long, one of the things I thought of was, this scene is so awesome. This is exactly how I picture the models, right? You could see that all of the hobbits here are in these elven rowboats, and they're moving past these giant sculptures of man, right? Of mankind, of humans, right? And I saw that, I saw that shot and I was like, wow, that's exactly how I try to picture the model. Like, look at the scale of them compared to the toes, right? So try to get yourself into that space to really get that off factor, or when you really want to get in there and start seeing more information. You really have to, when it's in reality, in real world space, you have to use your imagination to be able to zoom in. It's like having your third eye work or something, right? Like you have to play with that. Now, digitally, we can pretty much just do this, right? I mean, you can zoom in and zoom out of photographs, right? So for instance, I might now fly my way over to the model like I am over here, right? I'm flying my way over now out of my seat. And maybe here, again, I'm just doing it digitally. I want to be aware of the scale of the model. But isn't it more interesting to actually see this as well, right? You know, one thing I didn't intend on doing that I just remembered was when I was in games and we were working on games for mobile, which was quite challenging because there's like a gazillion mobile devices of all different sizes. What we would do is I would go up to window. Let me see, how did I do this? You'd go up to window and you would create, view? No, I'm pretty sure it was window. What you would do is you go up to window and you would create, here it is. So a new window for the same file, right? Like so. Hold on, I'm gonna close some stuff here. Anyway, my point to this is the reason for creating a new window for the same file, so there it is I can take this and say, in this one, I want the full figure at play here, right? So let's close this up, zoom out. Check this out. This is a little trick. And like I said, I had no intention of sharing this today, just reminded me of it. There. So I could have this, I'm unfortunately on one screen today, so it's making it a little harder for me. But I would put this on one screen and have the like iPhone correct size, right? For let's say an iPhone or any kind of phone sitting on one side, and yet I would have another window, the same window, but I can zoom in on it, right? Because I can go back here and zoom in on this, you see. Oh, you know what, Night? You might not be able to see what I'm doing too. Hold on a second. Let me share it this way with you. Let me just show this to you. New share here. So I would have something that looks like this. Like this. There we go. So I would have the artwork here. When I was art directing, I would have the artwork here, but I would have, let's say, this window be at the right scale. My point here is that you could zoom in on one window and see it really large and always have the smaller one there, right? So that's a way of working on this really well, and the power you have of working digitally that you don't have working traditionally is you can have two windows open at the same time. You can have your far shot, which is the map, right? It's recognizing the map of the model, seeing the train tracks moving across Europe. And yet you can at the same time appreciate being zoomed in to a particular area to, you know, taste the food of that region or of that city, you see. In the real world experience, I would go back and forth across this with my own imagination. I would imagine myself zooming in and look more closely, and then I would snap out of that and see the model from far away so I can just track the path, right? Track the paths of the body. So, excuse me, hopefully that makes sense. Any questions, Mrityunjay, from the chat while I'm doing this?
Yeah, James Camrego said, my biggest problem with rhythm is that I move on from one side of the body to the other. I get lost. And
Yeah.
it's for me to know how far to go left or right and where to place the apex of the force. So this is again, it's just like, I mean, you're looking at the small picture again, but you're not seeing the body as a whole, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
you're thinking just about the torso and not like appreciating the full, like, oh, here's the big model.
Yeah. Here's the whole country. Here's the full rail system, right?
Yep.
That's for most, to Mrityunjay's point, that's usually the hardest learnings at the beginning of understanding force, is understanding the full rail system, right? Most students, in fact, I just had a new mentee this morning, you know, and he was just at the beginning of learning how to draw. And in the most common way that we all almost start, he was coming in with copies of models with lots of detail and trying to do light and shadow, but not yet having the drawing skill to actually accomplish that through the act of draftsmanship, right? Of knowing how to draw versus having to copy, which is two very different things, of course, as we know. So to to the audience member's point, you know, what starts to happen here is we get this, there ends up being these like doorways. Excuse me. And part of it is even just recognizing that there are doorways. I come up with this metaphor because this is what I actually used when I was in school. And I was learning to try to start, you know, putting the figure together and trying to get these rhythms to move through the body. I would get to certain places in the body and go, okay, where do I go now? Right? Where do I go now? Where do I go now? So I felt like I would hit these barriers, these blockades, right? So for instance, you know, I might, let's say, okay, well, I see there's a lot of bend over here, right here. And where do I want to go? Do I want to go up or go down? And let's say I do go up. Let's say I go up this way and I head my way up and I get over here. It's like, you know, where do I go now? Do I go this way? You know, do I go this way? You know, there's a left and a right here, right? There's basically, to my next image here, there's a crossroads, right? There's this opportunity of going one way or the other way. Not always, but often you're trying to decide on what direction am I going in, right? So in this case, either answer would be okay, but I would say that the first priority, the first way I'd want to go through the door is I would probably want to go this way, right? Because I want to get here actually to this door, right? I get to this door, right? And the reason is because, to Mrityunjay's point, I want to understand from now this doorway, through this doorway, through this doorway, really because I want to try to get down also to here. I want to push that in. And by going through this door right here, it's helping me push the model out, right? From here is also tricky. There's another path to go out of with this door also, right? So, oh, that's interesting. When I hit this door, I can go this way to sort of start completing the torso. But if I reverse gears and I come through the door from the opposite direction, I want to start going this way, right? And this is a very common door up here at the elbow, right? The elbow door. It's like, where do I go? Do I continue, right, in the direction I'm going? Or do I reverse? Not reverse, but maybe another better word for reverse would be to flip, you see? So most of the time what's happening is when you get through a door, you know, or to a door, right? You get to a door, let's say I'm sweeping up to the door like this. I get to this door. The question typically that'll occur is, does this keep going in this direction, this curve? So right here is the change at the door. Is it a continuation or is there a flip happening? And what I mean by flip is this curve, this was where we came in, is going this way, right? It's arced this way, it's pushing out that way, and it's going this way. And the reverse of it would be to go this way. The reverse of that would be to go this way, and then this way, and then this way, right? So this is me flipping the curves, right? But sometimes it's not a flip. And by the way, when you do have a flip, that's what we call rhythm, all right? A flip is rhythm, okay? So as soon as you do this, and then you get to a door, and you decide you need to flip, the door you went through created a rhythm. If you don't flip, right, and you go like this and you hit a door and you continue with that curve this way, then you're just continuing the same directional force. There is no flip. So I could take this and say, I'm going to push down into here and then go this way. Maybe I'm pushing down into a shoulder or a knee or something like that, right? It's like, oh, I got here to this door and wait a minute, there is no flip here. I'm going to actually continue and really try to feel applied force pushed into this knee. So I'm continuing the curve, right? And you'd be amazed as to how often you can continue that curve. And you want to continue as much as you can. You don't want to generate rhythm for the heck of it. You want to see how efficiently and cleanly that flow will go and for how long, you know, how long can you take it, right? Okay, any questions?
Not yet, Mike.
Okay, so how do we do this, right? So from an experience standpoint, you know, I talk a lot about different metaphors, right? Those of you, especially that know me through the books or through the website, know that I talk about skating a lot. I talk about driving. skiing, bicycle riding, anything that means you are moving, right? You're moving forward, you have balance. Yeah, you're moving over distance, you know, over time, you're moving over distance, right? So each one of these has a sense of momentum and inertia. Certain velocity that things are moving at, right? And that helps because we're trying to see motion, right? We're trying, remember, we're here on the Force channel, right? So this is what makes us unique, right? Is the idea that we are trying to draw, to be really simple, we're trying to draw movement, right? We want to see movement, and movement sort of demands some level of speed, right? I couldn't draw force if I did this, or maybe I did stippling. Imagine if I said, hey, welcome to drawingforce.com. This is how I draw force. All right, here's the model's shoulder. Look at that rhythm into the neck. And here's the head. I've never done this before.
That would be so fun.
Yeah, here's the arm and into the wrist, right? Look at this stippled approach to force.
Reminds me of the children books. They had like these stippled lines, and then children try to connect it when they're
Yes,
learning
this was,
how from
yeah,
right
this,
to wrong.
well, that's exactly right. This was always, I used to do this as a kid in restaurants, right? It's called connect the dots. Right, so imagine force being connected dots. Kind of funny because we could do that on the website to help people at the beginning and say, hey, connect the dots, right? You have to get from the back to the shoulder to the other side of the shoulder, and you are connecting dots in a sense. You want to do this, you see, right? And this one, this dot happens to be the apex. So you are connecting dots, but you can't experience force by hopping, right? This is not forceful. The line itself, again, represents a sense of momentum and speed. I need to draw for as little as this line is on my computer. There's still me moving, right? I have a sense of, like I said, a sense of speed and velocity, right? There's a rate of speed over distance, right? That I am moving, right? To create this line. So all of these guys are tools, right? Tools to break through, I'm gonna shorten this, through barriers. So those are your tools, right? Skating is usually where we start on the website because it just gives you full freedom to like own the page, right? You want to be able to skate around the figure. So to that, I brought in this page. This is from one of my mentees named Chris. And this is one of the best examples I think I've ever gotten on seeing the direct relationship of skating and having it be applied to the figure drawing. So we have our reference here, right? Then after finding the reference, looking at the reference, skating the page, really excellent example of skating, thicker lines that are darker in those curves, right? And then thinner on the ways out. Remember, this force line is trying to replicate momentum. So if you were skating, you'd be skating along, let's say in a straight line, and then hit a curve. And when you hit the curve, because any object, right, rule of physics is any object going a straight line wants to continue in that straight line. So a curve is made of like all these little multiple moments of where it could go straight. But you and your body's force are changing that trajectory, right? Changing that direction. And because of that, the skates, dig into the ice because you're changing the direction of force when it wants to go straight. If you drove a car, and you're going really fast down the road and then you hit, you get off at an off ramp here, all the energy of that car wanting to go straight is going to get burned out. And if you went fast enough, you might even, squeal the tires and leave rubber on the road, right? You can almost imagine this as rubber on the road. So when you start learning the skating exercise, you're trying to emulate that. You want to emulate that physicality, right? You want to actually say, I'm pushing in, I'm pushing in, I'm pushing in, I'm pushing in, right? You want to be able to flow around like that. So that's the experiential understanding that you want to accomplish, right, in the skating. And then you want to go, okay, I know what this feels like, right? And I look at the model and I want some level of amazement. So I see how beautiful the model is working. I might even want to like zoom in and just go, wow, like that's awesome. I see the tension of the back there, how hard trend of the model's arm is working to push up on the shoulder, you know, the hanging of the weight, right? I want to understand how awesome it is that he's like hanging between these 3 points, his 2 feet and his arm, right? Really, really cool pose, almost like a canopy or a canvas with like weight dropped in the middle of it, right? And these poles are supporting that weight, right? So I love all of that. So I skate, and then I go over here and I try to immediately go from skating over to the model and try to flow through. And this flowing is almost a natural method to breaking through those barriers, right? Like really starting to smash through the barriers, because you're trying to take things as long as you possibly can. And Chris did an excellent job here of going long, right? You can see how one shoulder even connects the other shoulder. You can see how both legs come off of the pelvis, right? Over here, it comes up and over and off. Here, we're coming from the bottom and doing a rhythm, right? Because right here's a door, right? Here, let me draw this. So like right here is a doorway, right? He's coming down here, he's sweeping through here and he hit this door. It's like, well, what happens? Do I continue on the bottom of the leg? You know, do I reverse or flip, right? Do I flip, which you do, come over here. It's like, oh, I get to the knee, right? What happens here? Do I continue, you know, in the same direction, right? Or do I flip, right? In this case, it's not a flip. This would be a flip, right? Instead, it's a continuation. It's like I come up through that curve and I continue down the front edge of the lower leg. It's like another door. I get to the ankle, right? I flip, right? I flip over there to make a rhythm. Then I can come back up this road here, right? Going this way, and I want to get to that other leg. And it's like, oh, this continues, right? Look at that, continues right off of it. I get over here into this tight curve. There's a door. What do I do? You know, do I continue down this side of the leg, or do I flip my way over? In this case, I flip, right? And then I switch my way over into here. See? I come sweeping my way up here. I get to this shoulder. I feel like I want to continue. I kind of like right here. I just want to like sweep right into here, right? So that helps me through there. As I come down here in the other direction, there's this door. I hit a reverse. I flip to get a rhythm down the side of the arm like that, you see? So like I said, it's just getting used to finding out where those barriers are, using something like skating to make the flowing aspect of it really long and fluid, and breaking through, you know, making those connections happen, right? Here's another example. So this is by a premium member named Jason. Jason kind of came in like a tornado, I have to say, in the drawingforce.com, because his rarity was to fearlessly make a mess, which I'm totally fine with, by the way. In fact, when premium members start in my first recording and welcome video, I always say this is not drawingmeat.com, this is drawingforce.com, right? So I'm fine with this. What I'm not fine with is if Jason had said, let me draw the leg over here, right? And he did this, right? Remember, we don't want those little scratchy moments. Remember, we're trying to go long. So that would be the exact opposite. Small idea, small idea, small idea. It's almost as bad as the stippling that I did before, right? Little dots, little dots, little dots, just a little longer, right? So we're always trying to go long, right? Go long. It's like football, right? Go long. You want the long throw, right? The long throw as much as possible. So if we take this leg again, and Jason here is drawing that thigh, he does that over and over again with length, that's fine. You know, and then trying to figure out like, how do I get into the other part of the leg? That's a doorway right there. It's like, do I continue or flip? Oh, I flip over into the knee. What do I do here? Oh, I see, it flips again into the shin, right down the edge of the calf muscle there. You see, that was another door, by the way, right there. So you're trying to find these door moments, trying to break through, figure out if you're flipping or if you're continuing an idea, right? Leads me to an exercise. The exercise is to go long, right? It's one of the exercises, I believe it's in the books. I believe there's also a video on this on the website. You want to find the full paths of the figure with the least amount of obstacles, right? And be able to break through them. In general, you can usually get through an entire figure with 4 paths, right? It's like, damn, how do you do that, right? Sounds pretty pretty over the top. So let's go back to our photograph here of Trinda. Let's see if we can do it. I didn't practice this beforehand. I just kind of know in my head what my typical paths are. Let's see if that's accomplishable, right? So if I come up like this and I sweep around, you know, into his arm, I'm going to come up. I'm going to come over because I want the arm to go like this into his hands. His hand is even doing a little thing like that. All right, I'm going to sweep through all this. I could even continue down here. This is kind of a stopping point finally, honestly. That's a door, boom. Force-wise, that kind of stops because it really just goes across and pushes out here. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to come down. I'm going to sweep across. Now here, I could even keep going. What I'll sometimes do is I'll draw through the hips to continue the force. I'll come through here, come up over and around, let's say, and come down like this one leg, right? Get myself into the knee, get myself out into the foot, right? And get here. So notice what I've done, right? I would even get rid of this. This is a little bit of a cheat. I would say right there, that's one path. So one path I've gotten from his right hand to his left foot, right? I can get on this path and go wrist, arm, right? Shoulder, I'm going to sweep through, come down and around, hit the hip, go around the back, come down the leg, into the knee, calf, and into the foot. One path. Second path, let's grab a different color. Second path, I'd probably say I want to get the other leg in there. So I'm going to come off the pre-existing path here and say this leg is an outside thigh, inside knee, outside calf as well. Right, so something like that. So that's number 2. Number three is, let's grab orange. Number 3 is I want to get this other arm connected, right? So I'm going to do this and really aggressively sweep this out to his hand and wrist here. That's my number 3. Last but not least, number 4, and this is actually where I can get maybe more of that torso in, is I want to get to the neck and head, but I usually do that off the back and here off the side. So I'm going to come up like this. I'm going to come over kind of around the back and then sweep into his neck and head like this. You see? So that's my other path. So that's number 4. So look at that. 4 paths equal 4 equals 1, right? And what I mean by 1 is full body. And that's really what we're trying to do, right? Beginning of force is trying to find these paths. Templates come in, right? That's where templates end up helping. But you want to do this with a sense of shock and awe, right? As we talked about in the prior videos. I'm being a little mechanical here because I just want you to see how I'm connecting all of it. But as I understand that better and better, I can add more and more passion, of course, to my drawing as well. You know, like I love just how much energy in this pose drives into that shoulder, right? That's the leading edge. So I want to really feel that moment along that path, right? The red path drives me into that. But this is it. Look how minimally right? 4 paths, 4 train tracks put together the entire country of Italy, right? Made the whole thing come together and work, okay? So like I said, this is what we're trying to accomplish. This is how you break through the barriers. The answer to breaking through barriers is to find the rhythms, find the paths, glue things together. Do not allow those barriers to stand up, right? You want to go through them. And the way to do that are through those forced experiences, right? You do that through skating, you do that through driving and bike riding and so on, okay? All right, any questions before I hand it over, Mrityunjay?
No.
Okay, great. All right, let me get you ready here. All right, it's all yours.
All right, guys, so we're gonna see every concept, and thanks to Mike, for his like great insights on all of this. Yeah, so we're gonna see like everything into action now, right? Everything into play. So what we gonna do first? Let's say I have like some model photos. Oh, I was doing skating as well. Yeah, so we're gonna see like everything in action now, okay? From the awe, to the awe feeling of the model to like imagining them as like big 300 feet tall sculptures, and then trying to like come to the door thing, okay? And then yeah, just like draw the whole figures. Now, one of the things that I've seen actually people not do is they're like, let's say they're drawing the leg, they'll just focus on the leg, okay, only. And just like I think James in the chat, he put a question there. So that's a big problem, because you're just seeing like the small parts of it and saying, oh, here's a leg, here's the arm, right? Here's the body. Now, we teach hierarchy, right? Let's say hierarchy is prioritizing your ideas, and the main ideas go first, and then you basically prioritize less and less important ideas. But people still forget to connect, right? So it's actually the same thing, what Mike demoed, but I have a fun metaphor for this one, okay? And the metaphor is a restaurant and a home metaphor, okay? So I have a bonded photo here. We're gonna test out, we're gonna play this little game here on this model. And imagine your home being here. I'm gonna make a house symbol right here, okay? And imagine being a restaurant, right? So say like a little restaurant and bar or something, And imagine like you're hungry, okay? Like super hungry. And this is, let's say, the whole town or whatever, right? This pose represent the whole town, okay? And that's the only restaurant that you can get to, okay? So you're gonna take your car, okay, or whatever your vehicle is, and you're gonna drive off, and you're so hungry that you can die, okay? So that's basically the game, okay? Now you wanna start, okay? You wanna start from here, wherever you're starting, okay? So this is, let's say the home is right here. And usually I have the home right there at the top, somewhere in the torso, probably in the shoulder section or something, okay? Now you come, okay? Now you say, oh, the model is doing this, model is doing this. Some people find out the answers. It's like, okay, the model is doing this, model is doing this. And that's it for them, It's like, oh, here goes the torso. Now, what they're gonna do usually is start seeing different things, okay? And say, oh, here's a torso. Now I'm just gonna go, here's the legs. No, here's the other leg. See, there's no connection to all of these, okay? So what do you wanna use this game or this like metaphor for? You say, okay, I'm coming here from my home, okay? I can go here because see, the connection is there. So that is equal to a road, okay? So you're on your vehicle, you're on your road. So you're able to come here, you're able to come here and see, there's a dead end, okay? So you die basically, okay, in the game. So hungry that you die because there's like no road actually leading you to the restaurant in there, okay? There's no connection there. So what you actually can do is try to connect the leg, okay? And then say, oh, the hip in this way can go to the leg, okay? Once you reach there, there's a restaurant, right? In the feet section. So now you're not gonna die because, oh, you have a road built to that destination, okay? Right there. You can change the house positions, you can change the restaurant positions, okay? And then say that, okay, I need a seamless road that actually gets me there. So in this way, you will actually be forced to connect everything. Now, it's not a matter of, what do you say, nailing down the templates, because if that is wrong, we can fix that, okay? But at least like this metaphor, this game will actually try to influence you to connect those things up. So even if you say, oh, I don't see that S thing in here. What if I see a C in here? Now, some people, I've seen like people actually draw C for this pose. They're like, oh, you go here, you go here. But see, no matter what, you still have to like build those connections out, like this and this. Okay, so you can learn templates, but this is something that you should be learning first, which means that trying to connect the whole model, okay, using these sort of metaphors, or maybe that four pad exercise that Mike suggested. It's the same thing, but it's more like now using like some fun metaphors. Remember, okay? So restaurant and house thing, okay? Super hungry, just try to combine it. You're super hungry, you want like a road to get there, and if there's like a blockage or something, like this, like there's like a dead end or something, and you come here to say, oh, there's no end. It's like a fall or whatever, So now you die basically. Okay? So as simple as that, it's easy just to say, oh, I can just connect it simply from the pelvis to the legs, and there we go. We have a connection. Now we have these three tools, okay? Or I can say two tools, right? We have this all thing, it's like, oh, this excitement about drawing the model, imagining them as like these like big scales, okay? And then we have this connection thing going on, the door thing basically. Yeah, I can say three tools. We have the awe thing, we have the door thing, and then we have the connection thing. Okay? So using these three tools, now we can start to like do some gestures. Okay. All right. So now here we're gonna use the door metaphor. Okay. I'm gonna say, here's my little door. By the way, doors are usually at the joints. Usually placed at the joints. Because that's where the place where the force flips or it continues. Okay, so I mean, for example, here's my forearm. You cannot have like a door in the middle somewhere. It's like, oh, because the force is gonna be one path here. It's not gonna change or flip anything in the middle of my forearm, or say anywhere in my body. Okay, so door is not here, door is not here. Okay, it will be on the joints. Okay, so that is something that you can use too. So here, for example, we have a shoulder. We have a joint there, obviously. So there's a door. They're gonna come off here, right? Now here's another joint. Basically, the torso is made out of rib cage and the pelvis. Okay, so door could be here. It's not like the torso is like whole one section, but these two parts are capable of like moving independently. Okay, like twisting and turning, all this sort of thing. So door could be here. Okay, now you can say, oh, here's my door. What should I do, right? Should I flip to the other side? Should I continue, from one side? So in this way, I'm just gonna flip, okay, because she's doing this S kind of moment in there, okay? Now you can have, I've seen also people not connecting the pelvis, okay? So this is this is the phenomenon that actually made me into finding this game thing, because that's where the people get more confused. What is the connection of the pelvis with the legs, or how do you connect the pelvis with the legs? Okay, so yeah, imagining a door here, I can continue off. Now again, door on the knee. Okay, so you can say, oh, I want to flip, or I want to continue here. I'm just going to continue. Okay, that the same way. And see, using that door thing, you're just getting to the path. Okay, there's like one path, whole path. Okay. All right, I'm gonna draw it on the right. Now combining that with the scale thing, the metaphor, the awe, right? The amazement of the figure. Okay. First of all, I'm just gonna do that. Say, oh my God, like look at this. The secret to my excitement is always just be curious about it. Curious is how the model is actually doing it. If I were to do it, should I break my would I break my body or something? Like, or how much stress I have like face in order to do that. I'm pretty flexible, by the way, you know, and I do a lot of dance, by the way. I love dancing, so that actually helps me enjoy this thing, amazement, you know, of the model, and really appreciate like what they're actually doing. It's one of the things you can do, by the way. You can engage in some sort of physical activity, I would say, and mostly dancers or athletic people, you know, they can understand it better than the one who's like always a couch potato. You know? You have to like feel that excitement in your own body, and to do that, you have to just engage in some equal, you know, exciting activity. Okay, it's like, oh, just being curious about it. It's like, oh my god, you know, see what the model is doing. It's like she's doing this, right? And look at how much pressure, right? She's actually exerting through her shoulders, you know, right there. It's gonna be like this. Now again, just and I'm using the door as walls, okay? And it's just not, I'm not drawing them every time, okay? It's like, here's the door, it's gonna come off. So having this excitement, once you had this, then you can like put all the things on top of it. You say like whatever you want to put on, structure, shape, anatomy, like all these things. Okay. I've seen like this one problem with the people, you know, they're just like not appreciating force enough. When they're in the basics, then they do, but when they get into the force and shape thing, it's like don't do that too much. So let's try to draw it. You know? See my, oh my god, like look at all of this turning. Okay, twist in here. Like, it's more like this. See, again using that door thing. Okay, also the restaurant and the home thing. Okay, so look at that angle, right? Look at that angle. It's the same thing. I'm going from here. Here's the little door. Okay, going into the arm. Here's a little door again. You can just I'm flipping over to this side. Okay. Knowing the templates actually help, you know, in this case, but it's not like you just have to like get them right all the time. You need to connect first. Okay? Like, oh my god, look at that big hand. It's like grabbing off his whole, her whole waist. And then you can come out from here and connect the legs. Simple. I can flip on this side. I can flip on this side. It's like that. See, well, once you get these gestures, it's pretty easy to like put information on top of it. Okay. All right, we have another example here really quickly. He's a great model, by the way. His name is Rybert on Gumroad. Just you can check him out. So again, we have this odd thing. It was like, oh my god, and look at his sneaky pose. You know, he's doing this. It's like bending and like doing this thing. So you know, that's what the cool thing about force is. It's always gives you a new experience with every pose that they have. All right, here's the low door. I'm just gonna draw some doors here. Oh, here's a door. There's gonna be a door on the elbow side. Okay. And here's gonna be a door, maybe, you know, for the wrist or something, but it's not like a pretty big moment. Okay. Let's try to focus on here. Here's a door, right? On the other shoulder there is. I'm gonna come off from here. I'm gonna go here. Here's a little door right on the knee. It will help me figure out if I want to go back or I want to flip. Okay, flipping is something like this, by the way. It's more like this. What just Mike mentioned. Flip, when you flip, you create a rhythm. Okay, and when you continue the force, you don't create a rhythm. Okay, so it's about these directional forces and applied forces. Here's one directional force. Here's a second directional force. Okay, and here's an applied force in the middle. Okay, one applied force in the middle. So basically we use this equation, by the way. You know, we say two directional forces and one applied force makes up one rhythm. It's more like this. So when you flip, okay, when you flip on a door, you create a rhythm. When you don't flip on the road, you're basically taking the same idea and continuing it. Okay? Both are good, by the way. It's not, I'm not mentioning it just because, oh, you know, flipping creates rhythm, so it's good, and not doing it, it's bad. No, both of them works. So Okay, I'm just gonna remove that very quickly. So we have doors, right? We have like doors on this figure. I'm gonna go there. Oh, here's a little door, by the way, right on the hips. Okay. So I cannot continue from here. There are some places, obviously, template wise, okay, that we cannot like continue onto those things because hamstrings, for example, hamstrings of the leg doesn't have forces. Okay. Um, so here, my only option is to just continue off, okay, from to the top of the thighs. Now from here, I can move into the legs. There's a little door. I'm gonna say, oh, I'm gonna go from front to front, okay, on this one. So little base. Now I can do the same thing on the other side, coming from the front of the thighs, okay, the back of the calf. Now see, in some places, rules are just giving you one option, and that's kind of good. You know, you can just remember that, oh, back of the leg doesn't have force, or the front of the arm or the bicep side doesn't have force. So when you have a door there, well, you just have only one option. You just basically have to flip on the other side. Uh, so that's a good metaphor as well. Okay, so you can continue on from here. There's a door. Now here again, see, here's also a common option. You know, that's like the only option that I have is I want to stick to the back of the arm. You know why? Because the only time when the force, when the rhythm is created here or the force flips is when you have an hyperextended arm. Okay, and you don't have it here. It's like the arm is just bending, by the way. So here's again, you have one option. So many places in the, as you will like go through the process and you will like discover it more and more, you're gonna find that, well, some doors have just only one option, and most of the time these doors at the particular places have just only one option. Okay, so you don't even have to get in a confusion of, oh, should I flip or should I not flip? And I think just templates are just a polished version of this door theory. Like, oh, you know, here's a design that you want to follow when somebody or uh, let's say the arm does this or that. Okay. All right, so I can continue from here. I'm gonna go here, go here. Okay. See, so two techniques combined. We put the head. Really quick. Two techniques combined. First of all, the all thing is going to give you the freedom, okay? Freedom of not, and I always say this, and I'm going to say it 100 times more or 1,000 times more. Don't draw the body, draw the energies, okay? Draw the energies of the person, and then by time you're going to find a body inside of it, okay? So draw this, we are drawing these energies. Now you're drawing it with the excitement, okay? Plus, now you're having, let's say, practical technique of this door thing. You can just like pull it off, okay, all the time. All right, so how much time we have? About, do you have anything to share, Mike?
No, I mean, I love what you're doing. I think what I want all of you to recognize is that, you know, like it's like Mrityunjay's been doing a great job of, is there's key moments. Thank you so much for bringing up, you're right, 100% right. And most of the time it really happens in the joints. The only time it's not a joint where you potentially might be making a decision is something like the bottom of the rib cage, right? Although sometimes I do think of the rib cage as like a joint, and then like the pelvis as a joint, because you have these two hard bony areas. But sometimes there's like a decision point again. And these decision points are what lead you to the templates, you know. Templates like sort of help support the concepts here of, you know, how to break through, right? How to actually get from one place in the figure, you know, to another, right? And if you don't do that, you know, that's where you end up with drawings that are disconnected, that don't feel holistic. As we said at the very beginning of today's video, the goal is really to, with a sense of awe and passion, you know, have the ability to see the big picture. That's where really all of this starts. So the goal of today is for you to understand, break through those barriers. You need to break through those barriers in order to get to a place where you're going to understand the whole, right? Breaking those barriers is what creates the full map, you know. And I strongly urge you to try the metaphors after we're done today of travel, of traveling with the plane, imagining yourself really small, right? Really, really tiny compared to the model, being able to zoom in and zoom out. Anytime you're feeling a lack of awe, zoom in, get yourself really small and zoom in and go, darn, this place is really amazing. And then pull out and see the map. Hopefully in time, you'll be just in awe of even that small little picture on your digital screen of the model just doing something exciting. But again, I think scale is like a really, really great, fast vehicle for you to get some shock going on in you. I mean, think about it. That's why, we pay to go to the movies, right? It's like you go to the theater and you have, again, these giant screens where an actor's face is like 25 feet tall. And of course, it's going to impress itself upon you because of the scale, right? And here we are, as artists, especially nowadays, just barely post-COVID, right? Sitting on our computer screens all the time, drawing from these tiny little photos, right? It's it got me into the trap of forgetting about the sort of shock and awe of how amazing the human body actually is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have a little technique here, by the way. So here's like a navigator thing, that I usually I usually keep it open as well. It's kind of same thing what Mike was showing with the two screens. So you basically like go to the window and you go to the navigator, click it here. And then you always like have a big picture, in front of you. And again, obviously I know that you can resize it or something. And then even if you zoomed in, you're still gonna have like the big picture in your mind. It's like another cool trick, just to keep like the big picture in front of you all the time. All right, so we're gonna conclude the stream, right? And, I mean, it's kind of fun, It's it's like a very simple metaphor, but you don't, some people don't understand like the whole secret behind it or like the importance of it, and I can swear, upon myself is this is the secret, guys. Freedom, having the excitement towards a model, that's the biggest thing. You can learn all the technicalities while you're with somebody else or anybody just watching the videos, but this is something that will pull you back. And if you learn this, this is going to take you forward, to the heights that you cannot even imagine. Okay. So that's it. I'm gonna stop share. Yeah, we're just gonna conclude.
All right, so I'm going to close out, I think, just by taking a look at some of these moments here. What I've been discovering and mentoring the last few weeks is just this kind of scale, let's say, of, how much does a student actually see? And let's say one is like you're pretty blind, and 100% is your brain's exploding all the time because you're just amazed by how much information there is to grab. The texture of the model, the model, muscle and bone, like twisting and turning and stretching and pulling, and skin being taut, and you see everything, right? And it's all so damn exciting. It should almost be overwhelming. And that you're trying to capture all this. Like, how great can you be as an artist? Another way we could say, like, how open or sensitive can you be? And breaking those doors is part of that formula to try to get yourself up to whatever 100% is. Like, what is that? What does that look like, right? So, over here in this area, not only do we want that big picture that we talked about, which is right down here, right? We want that big picture. As you're a student who starts learning the big picture and the figure starts making more sense, you want to start getting through the medium levels and the small levels. I just want to show you a small inkling of that. Like, Trinta's stomach here is awesome, right? It's like, look at the nuance of his rib cage here, right? Which is pushing, let's reverse this, which is pushing out. And then look at all of his skin, right? His tight skin pulling, up that way, right? Like, look at his belly button. The belly button is actually a great indicator of what's going on, right? Because you can see it stretching up into the screen right? It's pulling up. Look at all of his muscle over here, right? It's pulling up. Everything's pulling up. You can see how his abdominal region is pulling up, right? So we have all of this here, right? You can see the compression here and the stretch on this side, you see. So I just want you to be aware of just how much there is to look at. Once you understand the big picture, there's all this medium-sized stuff to see and smaller size stuff to see, and it's all amazing, and there's just so much going on. You know, look at all that stretch there. Look at this little moment of compression here as to how all the skin like comes together and wrinkles down, right? So that little moment there is showing us what's going on here, right? They support one another. Now, a body makes total sense. It makes total rational sense. And your idea is to see the beauty in that, you know, to understand that and try to see the big picture and the small pictures and try to get as much information that you can squeeze out of the amazingness of the models as you can, okay? So with that, I'm going to close. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Swami will be back with us next week. And we will see you. We'll see you in 7 days. Right. Have a great weekend. Have a great Mother's Day for those of you that celebrate with your moms. And yeah, we'll see you next Friday. Take care. Thanks again, Rotunjay.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.